right, honeycomb.
That's a good one. I like that. They sound delicious.
You are Manuka honey.
It's also my new favorite honey. Hi everybody, I'm Eden.
And I'm Jay.
And welcome to our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, and I don't know why you haven't yet, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit the little bell to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. Also,
follow us on Instagram, EdenxJay. We post really cute stuff.
And we ask questions like, what would you like our next video to be? And so many of you have asked for our coming out story. Everyone's coming out story is so unique and very, very different. Ours is as well. I came out when I was older.
You came out when I was younger.
Yeah.
So here we are. I think it's time for us to do our coming out story.
Let me just give you an idea of how this is gonna go. I'm actually gonna be interviewing you, my love, and asking you questions about your coming out story and your experience. And, you know, we're gonna take it step by step. If you ever need a break, if you need a moment, like, we are here. It is not your average YouTube video, it is a safe space. And that's what we encourage, you know, creating safe spaces, even for a coming out story. That's really important. And that's what we do for one another, and this is no different.
Great.
Safe space.
Yeah. And Eden's background is in journalism, so there's that.
I love asking her questions. So are you ready, baby?
Let's do it.
Hey. All right, first question. What was the pivotal moment for you when you came out? That moment where you were just like, I can't hold it in anymore.
Right, yes. So I came out when I was in my teens. Not because I wanted to, but because I was forced to, in a sense.
Whoa, you were pulled out of the closet.
Yes. Let me explain. I had a cousin who was a year younger who knew she was gay before I did. And she would confide in me with like struggles, inner struggles. And I come from a very Catholic family, so she didn't really have a lot of people to like come to. Mm-hmm. And I was already feeling that way. I just didn't really understand what it was.
So you knew you were gay at what age?
I knew I was gay at 15.
How did you react? So did you guys like lean on each other a lot? Were you pretty close, knowing that both of you had each other to be gay
Yeah,
with?
I think it was like one of those, we were on a road trip with the family and she was just like, hey Jay, like, I've got to tell you something.
Secret.
Yeah, like, I gotta tell you something. I don't really know what this feeling is, but I'm crushing on a girl, and I don't know like how to feel about it. And it was mind-blowing because I was already crushing on girls. All of my best friends were really pretty on purpose. So I think I was already feeling
Clearly
that
she
way.
has a type. She's had one since she was 15.
Definitely. So I think I was already feeling that, and then her saying that to me in secret really justified how I was feeling.
Oh, that's amazing. So at least you had someone to confide in and vice versa. Yeah. So what happened?
So what happened was we were at a family gathering one night, and it was my entire family. I come from a really big family. I have 13 aunts and uncles.
Whoa, it's a big family.
Yeah, huge family, like 20 something cousins. So it was like a whole thing. And within this party, my mom was saying a lot of homophobic slurs and being super rude to my cousin who I knew was gay. And the thing is that my family kind of had an idea, like an inkling that she was. And so everybody would just rag on her often. Yeah. And at this particular party, I think because we would confide in each other about how we were feeling or crushes, or we didn't really have a support system, so we were each other's support system. So I think it really hit home when I saw my mom being, you know, super homophobic towards my cousin. And it wasn't just my mom, it was like my mom, my uncles, my aunts, it was everybody.
So like everyone was ganging up on your cousin.
Definitely.
And you just had to sit there and watch.
Definitely.
Wow. At a 15-year-old, like now doing that where you're like, oh, like I would have done this, or I would have said something, or I would have jumped out of my seat. But it's like easy to say that as an adult, as if trying to put yourself back in a 15-year-old's mindset of feeling so powerless and helpless, watching your cousin, who you guys are so close together, you know, with this deep secret.
Yeah, no, it was tough. It was a lot. And I think at that exact moment, I couldn't hold it in. Like, I knew I was gay, and I couldn't watch my cousin be railed and talked to in that way, that I, without skipping a beat and not knowing what the outcome of this would be, I took a step back and I said, hey, if you're going to talk to her in that way, you might as well talk to me in that way, because I'm the same exact, I'm also gay. So just bring it this way.
Wow.
And that was not what my mom was imagining, or the rest of my family, because this was me now coming out to my mom and all my uncles and all my aunts and everybody that was at the table, which was a really big table. So yeah, I think that was the exact moment where I just owned my truth, and I felt like it was the noble thing to do.
Can I just say, the person who you were 15 years ago is very much the person who you are still now, where you can't just sit back and watch an injustice happen to someone. You have to speak up and say your piece and say your truth, no matter what the consequences. So can I just say, like, how much I entirely admire you, and the fact that you were able to do that, not knowing what the consequences would be. But to kind of speak on that, what were they? How did your mom react?
It was rough. I was 15, and immediately my mom was dumbfounded and very angry, and very upset. I'm the eldest of three, so yeah, it was rough.
So no one suspected that you were gay?
No, definitely not. My cousin was a little on the dykier side, and so I just wasn't. I've never been that. So
you just like blended.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah. So I think. So immediately after I said that, I did my big announcement, realized what I said. My mom excused us and we left the party. And on the way to my home, my mom was just like railing into me, throwing the Bible at me, scripts, like telling me how I'm gonna go to hell, how this is like not me. I've just been hanging out with my cousin way too much.
Wow. So what was that big step? Like, how did she think she was gonna fix it?
So the crazy thing is that after, literally the day after this happened, this whole big blowout, she, after school, I got to the house. I was still kind of rocky. I didn't feel good about myself, considering that my mom was like the meanest I had ever seen her. When I got home, she was like, here's a plane ticket.
So wait, you went to school the next day?
Yeah.
And you came home and she had a plane ticket waiting for you?
Yeah.
What? Like, wait, for what? Like, you couldn't even come out for 48 hours.
I couldn't even process. Like, there was very little process. Backstory, my mom and my dad were high school sweethearts, and then they had me. So my mom had me very young. My mom was 17 when she got pregnant, dropped out of high school, and had me. So they got married because of me, and then divorced by the time I was 1. So there really wasn't a relationship or a stable home. I've never really had like both parents or what like a happy home looks like. I don't really know. So fast forward to now, my mom was a single mom raising 3 girls. So my mom was like, hey, I don't think you know who or what you want to be. You're too young. There's no way you understand sexual orientation. But here's a plane ticket. I'm going to send you to live with your dad, who you haven't seen since you were 7.
It's almost like living with a stranger.
Go figure it out. Like, he's gonna like fix you, is how it was presented to me.
Wow.
So that's what happened. So within those 3 days, I had 3 days to like tell my friends goodbye, like cry my eyes out, and kind of get ready for this experience that I wasn't. Yeah, it was very confusing, I guess.
Which is such a totally wrong thing, because at 15 you are starting to come into your own and discover your sexuality, and explore yourself, and to say that you don't know that you're too young, I personally feel like it's a complete opposite.
Totally.
That's when you're trying to figure it out.
I agree. But I think it was super scary. I think, again, coming from a super Catholic background, like this is not acceptable. This was before the Pope was cool. Like,
I mean, that part.
Like all these things, they were sinful, and she didn't really know. Also, like I said, she was a young mother, so this was all foreign for her. I didn't have any gay family members. Like we were the first ones. Yeah. And so in her mind,
you were the first ones to come out. Probably not the first ones.
First ones to come out. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in her mind, she thought, screw it, I'm gonna send my daughter away, and hopefully this would get rid of her gayness.
So with your mom. And again, every parent is going to react in the way that they're going to react. And because you were so young, you kind of have to do whatever she says.
Definitely.
You live under her roof and you're 15.
Yeah.
So she sent you to go live with your father, who you haven't seen since you were 7, in a different country in Guatemala.
Yeah.
So what happened when you landed and when you got there?
So my dad moved back to Guatemala when I was 7 to take care of land and property and like business. So I hadn't seen him since then. Fast forward to 15, I get to the airport, get off the plane, and here's this man who I don't remember what he even looks like waiting for me at the airport, who I'm now supposed to live with for God knows how long. So that was my introduction to meeting my dad again at 15, and it was like, it's funny because now thinking about it, I think this is the first time that I've actually had to like sit in my feelings and like really think about it. But I think back then I was so numb. I almost felt disgusted with myself because a little bit because of how I was raised. And it was like this thing that I couldn't like fix, you know, like it was.
But you weren't broke.
I get that now.
You're made to feel like you're broken.
I'm very secure with who I am. I could give,
Yeah. But then you felt like there was something wrong with you.
But then at 15, like it's very tough because this is the family that you grew up with. This is the religion that you grew up with. These are supposed to be like
your support system.
Your support system. And they were looking at me like I was a plague almost. So
don't touch her, it's contagious.
Yeah, totally. So I think that
So sending you away was their option. Like, felt like their only option.
Totally.
To try to fix you, in a sense. So you know, being in Guatemala with your dad, who was essentially kind of a stranger.
Mind you, it was the first time I was ever in a foreign country, like a foreign country.
Yeah.
Like it was the first time that I had ever flown out of the US by myself into unknown territory. So there were so many firsts within this, I don't know, this history of myself.
So you were in Guatemala, and correct me if I'm wrong, Guatemala is still not super gay friendly.
No, definitely not. Central America.
So you pretty much had to still be closeted a bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And my dad is like super machismo, like standard, like gun holding, just traditional
Latino
male dad, like just so it was a lot. I jumped off the plane. He approached me at the terminal, and he was like, hey, like, I'm your dad, welcome to it was
Hi.
like super awkward.
Did your first of all, how long were you in Guatemala for?
I was there for a little over a year, so like a year and a half.
And what has your mom said through all of this? Did you
Back
guys
then?
talk?
Yeah, no, it was, so I landed, he was also married and had 3 children of his own. So I was like this kid that he had to take in that kind of disrupted his home life because I'm from his first marriage and I'm also gay and I'm problematic. So it was, I already had everything stacked.
So many strikes.
Yeah, totally. But I think it was, I don't know, it was interesting. I think I did the most growing out there.
Really?
Yeah.
What, like, can you explain a little bit about what that was like? Well,
I think it forced me to like really sit with my feelings. And I was out of my comfort zone. Like I wasn't in LA. I wasn't surrounded by my support system. And at 15, I had like amazing friends who accepted me for who I was. And there was never, I fortunately have never felt like an outsider except within my family. So my support system were my friends, and I had such a strong support system that this was the first time that I didn't have anybody. Like I was in a foreign country with a man who claims to be my dad, with a family of his own, with sisters, with like the whole
nine yards. It wasn't like you had an iPhone back then, or like
so
to get in contact and still have that like type of support system with you.
Yeah, and my mom basically just said, I will contact you when I can and we'll figure it out. Like my mom is not the communicative type. Communication has never been a strong suit of my family. So this was kind of one of those like, here's a plane ticket. You'll come back when you are straight. So we'll deal with it then.
Whoa, which you would still clearly be there if that was the case. So being out there and, being in Guatemala, and I'm assuming you always knew, one, you were never going to change. And two, like where did you lie? Like, did you want to come back? Like, were you fighting to come back? Were you
definitely
building a relationship with your father out there?
No, I think that's the silver lining of this crazy story, is that I had a year and a half to build this relationship with my dad, who I didn't know, and he was painted a certain way by my mother. So it was like a good segue. Like, I think I was able to kind of know who this stranger was. Like, at the end of this whole experience, I knew like his favorite thing, his hobbies, his favorite color. Like, I knew who he was, and I totally appreciate that part of the story.
Wait, so you got to learn, you got to really get to know
I got to really get to know him on like a person to person. And he knew why I was there. So
well, how did he react to you being gay?
He ignored it, just like my mom did.
Classic Latino move.
He was just like, we're not going to talk about that because it's not important. I'm going to like hang out with my daughter, who I haven't seen since she was 7. And now she's a teen, so let's just focus on like building that relationship. And like, we don't have to talk about you being gay or liking women. Like, let's just not talk about it. Yeah, exactly. He saw it as an opportunity to kind of get to know each other, which was beautiful. And I was able to be completely honest with him, because for me, he was a stranger. So I didn't owe him anything. I didn't owe him. I was able to just say like, this is how I feel. Like, I am attracted to women. Like, I don't really understand why I'm here, but I'm going to take it for what it is. Learning experience and time to bond with my dad.
And it sounds like you did just that. I mean, I think it's so twisted, because you were banished to a foreign country with a complete stranger, and to come out on the other end saying, you know what, I got to learn, even though my dad and I had this like unspoken situation about me, which is me being gay, we still use this opportunity to, one, get to know each other. It's like, there are 2 problems. I am gay and I don't know you. Let's at least try to fix one of the problems, and then maybe we can tackle the second one after. Totally. So it sounds like you guys got to really get to know each other. And a year and a half later, what was the changing moment? Like, how did you get back?
Well, I kept writing my mom letters. Like, every other month I would write her a letter explaining why I wanted to come back. And in the beginning, she would just dismiss my letters, not even write back. And eventually she would write back. I was in Guatemala for a year and a half. So I was getting to the point where I was basically an adult. I was getting to the adult age. So whether she liked it or not, I was going to come back at some point. My goal was never to stay in Guatemala. As much as I loved my dad and I loved hanging out and I loved the culture, I've just always been a city girl, and I grew up in the States. So it was totally different. It was like night and day, just the lifestyles. So I think eventually she said, fine, you can come back, even though you're not straight and you're still gay, because that was kind of the context of our letters, was her saying, you can only come back if you're straight, and me saying, no way in hell, I am gay and I'm owning it, and the more you leave me out here, the less it's gonna change. So you're either gonna accept me, or at least let me come back and figure it out, or you're just gonna disown me and I'm still gonna be gay, whether I'm in Guatemala or in the US. So I ended up coming back. My mom said, okay, come back. And I left, you know, when I was 17 and a half.
So
17.
You were able to come back home, and what happened once you got home? Was your mom like super?
It was
more accepting
wild.
of it?
So I came back home, and my mom was very anti-gay, still homophobic.
Hasn't changed.
Yes, sadly. So she wasn't cool with it, and at that point, I came back with like determination and a goal in mind, and that was to get myself out of. I didn't want to live under her roof, because if I lived under her roof, then I had to follow her rules. And so as soon as I came back, I got 2 jobs. I started going to college. Like I felt like I needed to stabilize and build a foundation for myself without the help of my parent in order to be who I wanted to be. And so that's exactly what I did. I got 2 jobs. I started going to SMC. I figured it out. I got my first apartment, and I said, you know, this is where we're at. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna support myself, and I'm gonna be who I want to be. It's on you if you want to be in my life or not, because regardless, I'm gonna live it the way that I want to. And that's kind of where we ended.
I'm
that
so proud of you.
Experience.
Like I really, really am, because the person who you were when you were 15 is the person who you are now, which is clearly a strong, independent, like amazing individual that speaks her mind and fights for people, fights for the underdog. And you know, I've never met a single human being like you. You're absolutely incredible, and your coming out story is just an attestament to the person that you are and your sexuality and fighting for it, and how important it is for you to like let everyone know that this is something that is a part of you and you're not budging. Totally.
I wish I had a better coming out story, but my coming out story wasn't the greatest experience. But on the flip side of that, I think it taught me to own who I am, you know, and just run with it, regardless of all the people that you're gonna lose. I had, like I said, I had a great support system. My best friend now, who was my best friend then, having people like that in my corner, regardless of, you know, losing family members, like that helped me and empowered me through this whole thing. Totally. I felt like if I could be in LA, I can figure it out. Regardless, like even if I was homeless and like didn't know where I was gonna get my next meal, like I still had friends and I still had a support system that would take me in, and I would figure it out. I've always been the type to, you know, I've always been a lone wolf. I think. So I'll figure it out regardless.
I love that. I mean, I've met your best friend, and she's incredible, and I can only imagine the 15-year-old version of her that was like, I got your back, because she's exactly the same way.
Yeah, and like even when I think we lived together, we were roommates, me and my best friend, and that was like one of the first times that I lived on my own, and I couldn't have asked for a better, like I said, better best friend or a better support system. And when I came back, my mom was she was still, even after I moved out of her house, after I was able to pay my bills, she was still very weary, and she was still very like arm's length. And there was a good period of time where we didn't talk, even after I came back, even after I kind of set the foundation to my new life, even after I didn't need her money or her support, it was still we were disconnected. And even now, like fast forward to however many years later, I think she like accepts it to a certain extent, but it's not where I wish we were. And I think it has a lot to do with backgrounds and
I think there is a lot of progress. There's a ton
of progress, and I guess the point of the story is that I think people can change.
For sure.
Because my mom, when I was 15, is not my mom now. Like at all. I think she's grown in many ways, but I think there's still more growing that needs to happen. And as long as you know that and you accept that and you know it's them and not you, I think that's the most important part.
And you know, I've met your mom, and you know, I know your relationship with your mom, and
it's not the best relationship.
It's not the best relationship, but you have to go and take into consideration, like no longer have a mom. You know what I mean? So it's interesting and like understanding that dynamic and hearing the person that she was then and the person who she is now.
She's come a long way. I think people can change. Opinions do change.
For sure. I think like she has definitely come a long way, but you have come so far. So what I think the biggest takeaway as well, and that's for anyone who may have like a rocky relationship with a parent who may just start to feel comfortable or making the changes. You know, I think we see online so many parents that are open arms and welcoming and like, you know, waving the gay flag out there, and that's just not realistic for every parent. And unfortunately within the Latino community, it's not as common as we would like it to be. So, you know, with that being said, I think with your mom and in this situation, you are happy and content with who you are.
Definitely.
Whether people accept you or don't.
That's on them.
Including your mom. And I think that's, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And however you want to have and keep people in your life, I'm completely supportive of that. And I think you've accepted that. You've accepted yourself, and you've accepted who chooses to accept you or don't, and that's their loss, to your point.
Completely.
You're losing an amazing person.
I think the silver lining out of this entire story, yes, it's sad and it's messed up at times, but I think if I didn't go through that experience, then I wouldn't be who I am now. And I'm super proud to be. I'm super proud to be who I am, and I will never go back in the closet. Like that's
the closet won't fit you.
Definitely not. And forget anybody that doesn't support it. I have a beautiful girlfriend and a loving relationship, and I'm happy. I've got a support system, friends who've been there since the beginning. Yeah, I'm great. I'm solid.
Well, I'm so proud of you. You're the most beautiful and amazing and incredible individual that I've ever met in my entire life. And I feel so lucky. You know, your coming out story was insanely tough, but it made you the person who you are today.
Totally.
And I'm absolutely in love and obsessed with that person so much. And I just want to let you know, like, it's really brave for you to share your coming out story. It's never easy. So I guess one of my final questions too is, what advice would you give to, I guess, the 15-year-old self?
Man, if I could give my 15-year-old self any advice, is that things get better. Like, this is not the end of the world.
Even though it feels like it.
Even though it feels like it is not the end of the world, and you can get through it. Like, you are a badass, and you can just go through life with ease, because you will meet the love of your life, and you will have friends that support you across the board, and at the end of the day, it's their loss, not yours. And I think that's the most important thing, is that I did this on a whim. I think when I was 15, I didn't know what the outcome would be, but I just like went with my gut. And I think I was super scared. So I think that confidence, that it gets better, as cheesy as it is, I think you just always remember, like, that is not your life. You can make your life however you want it to be.
You're so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We're gonna have to do this a 2-part series, everyone. Almost said y'all.
Next is Eden's coming out story.
Yes. So, well, first of all, again, please subscribe and hit the little bell to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. The next video will be my coming out story, which is, you know, different than yours because it came out when I was older, not quite 15, so it's a very different outcome, very different situation. Yeah. But you know what, I truly feel like and I think originally when we started to do this video, we were like, let's put them both together, but I think your story needs its own space, and then I'll put my story in another space. And, you know, we are just really happy to create this space for, you know, all of you there that are listening to our stories, who may have similar ones. I'm hoping nobody gets banished to Guatemala, but if it happens, like, I know that
you can get through it.
You can get through it, like this beautiful person here. So again, like, thank you for subscribing, and stay tuned for the next one. I'll be coming out for the next video.
All right.
Alrighty, baby, ready?
Yes.
Love you.